Good evening and welcome to Blue Dream Love and Wellness. We are so honored here tonight to have Lisa Ramos with us from Raw Renewal Energy. She has a whole new concept for us to learn, and I am very excited, and I hope you will be also. So let's start this like we start all beautiful things in life, by prayer. So if we want to just bow our heads and bring in that peace and that harmony and shake off today, we invite the Lord, our God, to come in and grant us peace and harmony and knowledge. I ask all divine energy, angels and saints to be present. I ask all guides and ancestors that would like to sit on this to please be with us. We allow only peace and harmony here, and allow that to be filled with gratitude and love. In your holy name, Lord, we ask this of you. Beautiful. They have entered, and we have 8 guardian angels with us in the celestial choir. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. And everybody, please meet Lisa. Let's group the room with the energy within it, and let's just accept it. And Lisa, I'm going to turn it right over to you, hon. Thank you so very much. And please, where and how did you come up with all of this?
Sure. So again, my name is Lisa Ramos. I am the owner of Raw Renewal Energy and the co-creator of the Global Energy Method and the Infinity Healer membership. So basically, I'm a Christian and I never used to believe in any of this, but we almost lost a child some years back. And she was given no chance of survival, but the Lord had different plans. He healed her. But what I found afterwards was that I struggled psychologically because we were in the hospital for a very long time. Every day was a roller coaster. And so afterwards, even though she had gotten a healing, I struggled. I had PTSD. I had many things going wrong with me. I had adrenal fatigue, end stage adrenal fatigue. My heart was failing. My organs were failing. And so I had to look for something. I prayed and prayed and prayed for deliverance from it. And what kept coming to me, honestly, was the emotion code. And so I began to look into that. Mm-hmm. I was very standoffish at first. But so what I did is I tried to learn it as best as I can, see how it could be accepted with a Christian outlook. Mm-hmm. And then it just evolved. It's been evolving since then. And I actually went back to college. I now have a master's degree in psychology. I'm in my PhD program for psychology. And so we decided to create the Global Energy Method by pulling in energy methods from all over the globe, coupling it with psychology theories. My husband is in personalized nutrition, and so we added that in as well. And we just created a very comprehensive, in-depth healing modality. This was a process over many years. And so now that's where we're at. So is that answer your question?
Yes, it's very exciting. I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful.
So going through all of this, and you allowed wellness to come to yourself, did you create this as you were healing?
Yes.
As you were healing. So each aspect of it, you were able to pull in and create.
Yeah, it felt like I would take a step into healing, but there was still more. And so I'm like, what is this more? I became emotion code certified, then body code certified, and I still felt like there's something missing. There's still more. So I started looking at more modalities and different things. And once I started pulling them together, and then as I grew in my education with psychology, I found how it's not just the energy. We can repattern our psyche, we can repattern our thinking and really get an optimal healing experience physically, spiritually, and psychologically, coupling this stuff together. And so I just found it to be amazing. My husband and I worked on it together. He kind of drew me out of some mindsets of limitation, limiting mindsets. And
Right.
then he had some limiting mindsets that I was able to pull him out of. We're quite opposite. We have 8 children. I
Well, you have a
homeschooled them
passel full.
all. Yeah, we are busy people too. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Sounds like it's been a beautiful journey of knowledge.
Definitely a beautiful journey.
So do
Yeah.
your children do your techniques with you?
They they are starting to, because they're older now. Like 6 of our children are now adults. We had a break in the middle, and God blessed us with 2 more.
Oh,
So 6 of our children are older, some married, some with children, and then we have our 2 younger ones that are 6 and 8 years old. So it's a fun environment to have both our
I
adult
bet.
children and our littles.
Never a boring moment, I'm sure.
Exactly.
How beautiful. So
All
when
right.
you first started, so you did the emotion, you did the EC or BC, and then you started researching other modalities, and nothing seemed to fit, or they all fit, and you wanted just more. You weren't getting the peace and the calm that you needed to move forward where you needed to go.
Well, I feel like each thing gave some bit of healing,
Okay.
and some, drew you further, but then not like one modality, I don't feel has ever been like it can heal everything.
Right.
The psyche breaks from childhood, or the physical ailments. It's just like there's something missing from each one, is the way I perceived it. And
Okay.
so that's why I kind of melded them together.
Okay. Now, when you do this work, do you also work on that inner child that is so injured in past lives?
Yep. We have inner child dissonances and things inside the global energy method. Yep.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
yep, all kinds of things. It's very in depth, and I can show it to you if you want after the
I would
presentation that I
love
want
to
to
see
give
it.
you
I think it's
today.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. All
And you
right, so you
wanted
want
to
me to
share
jump
your
in?
screen, right?
Yeah, let me do
Okay, let me
that.
get you up there. Okie dokies. It's ready to go. Thank you.
Mm.
And I'm hope I'm working. It's on working on this computer.
All right, so
Beautiful.
can you
It did
see
work.
this?
Yay.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to talk to you about today is the gap strategy. This is something that goes extremely well with emotion code and body code practitioners. I know you mentioned that is the majority of your group. This comes right along with it. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. If anyone has seen any of my trainings, you may have seen this before, but it's a great reminder if you have, and if you haven't, you will see that this will enhance your sessions immediately. As soon as you begin using this strategy, you're going to find better processing times. You're going to find that people are getting more permanent results and everything. So let's get right into it.
Do you find, let me ask this, you said more permanent results. Does that, I mean, somebody said to me yesterday, and maybe it was the day before, that they do modalities that nobody ever has a processing time.
Well, it really depends on what you're doing. If we're releasing things, there is in cognitive neuroscience, we learn about the connections in the brain between trauma and our emotions and how things work, right? So there are connections in the brain to some things. When we release something that had a connection, there will always be a processing time. Now, this can help it, but if we're just adding positive energy, then there doesn't need to be a processing time, because we're adding to it. We're not releasing. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. But when you answer you try to answer your own questions, you get yourself going either
Yeah.
way. And then you're thinking, no, you got to ask somebody else. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is the gap. We're going to talk about what happens when we release emotions from our client, why a gap is left, and what this means for your client. And then we're going to talk about techniques for filling that gap and what to expect after filling the gap.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
All right. So the gap is the space that's left after we release an emotion, an energy, a trauma, or etc.
Okay.
The trapped emotions are protection. They're there for people's protection. That is why we're holding them, is to protect ourselves. So releasing them can create a sense of vulnerability. It can create a sense of emptiness, a sense of confusion, or even grief. The client is often left to fill this gap themselves, and sometimes old habits can reabsorb or recreate similar emotions, making our work less permanent. So it's not
Right.
that the work isn't permanent, that what we released is gone for good, but when we don't give the client direction for how to fill that emptiness that is left from releasing it,
Mm-hmm.
they will recreate this because that's the pattern that they're used to.
Okay. So when we fill it in, say, with positive affirmations and positive statements and different tapping techniques, or there's so many things, meridians, chakras, neurolymphatics, or a morning routine, even journaling, simple
Mhm.
things can help create that. But if they stop when they are still not completely where they need to be, they will still go back, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep,
that's what
they'll
I've
fall
been
back
I've been
to old
trying to
pattern.
get this across. And for some reason, either I don't want to be forceful with people, but I don't understand why they don't understand what I am trying to explain. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
doing it wrong.
Yeah, well, sometimes what they do is they don't really understand the mystical area of it.
Okay.
If you're referring to a client, a lot of times
Mhm.
the client, you have to look at them and speak to them as if they were a child. So explaining it to them like they're a child helps them to understand it and move forward, but you also have to give it to them in piece by piece. We've kind of learned it piece by piece, but
Right.
it's hard now with our knowledge to teach someone else, a client, um that the broad spectrum of it with them understanding it, because we're looking at the bigger picture.
Picture.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they're in this little tiny mindset where they can't see up, down, left, right. There you go.
exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That makes more sense. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. So why is there a gap? The gap is there because the subconscious mind accepts and holds on to the trauma response and the emotion. And there are neural connections that are broken, leaving signals in the brain firing without a path to follow. So I want to pause real quick to just explain that in neuroscience, we can add kind of like monitor little probes to the
Mhm.
mind
Mhm.
and trigger different responses or different emotions. And this can be seen on imaging, that these certain areas of the brain are firing because of the emotional reaction. This causes neural pathways to connect in the brain. So when we
Right.
release this trauma, the pathway is still firing, but it has nowhere to go. And that
Okay.
leaves the client kind of feeling like, okay, now what? And so
Okay.
that is what's happening when there is a gap.
Okay.
There's
Thank you.
also there's also a natural self-preservation that's going to seek to remedy that loss of protection and neural pathway.
Okay.
So anytime we're releasing something that was protecting us, we're going to feel vulnerable, right?
Right.
So although this is what we're asking, the client is asking you to please help me with this. This is hindering my life. By releasing it, it makes them feel vulnerable because that protection is now gone.
Okay.
So let's just talk briefly about, is there always a gap? And the answer is no, there's not always a gap when we release emotions. The
Okay.
length that the emotion has been trapped is, if it's longer than 5 years, then it will typically leave a gap. If it's less than 5 years, let's say you just went through something 6 months ago and you're trying to deal with it, you can release that and there is no gap left there because it hasn't really solidified those neural connections quite yet. And then the severity of the trauma causing the emotion. So a more severe trauma, the quicker it's going to build those neural pathways. And the less severe, the easier it's going to be to release without a gap. Okay. So something that's just kind of mild is going to release without really causing a gap. Okay. And then the person's personal stress management style also comes into play. Anxious people tend to create neural pathways quicker. So if you're dealing with someone who's super anxious, then that is something I would recommend filling the gap for. And I'm going to give you strategies for that.
Can you also, I know, if you heard of the AO scanner?
Yes.
Do you utilize one?
I don't have one. I've had a couple people talk to me about it, but I haven't had the time to really research it yet.
I was wondering if I bought one, and I'm wondering, there's so many different pathways on there that I wonder if running this can actually help those neural pathways.
Very possibly, because it is, it is using frequency. And I would still fill the gap with one of the strategies, but I think it could be helpful for kind of an immediate benefit. But I think for the long-term benefit, to avoid them reverting back to old patterns, we want to make sure that this is repatterned.
Okay.
So I want to make sure you understand that just releasing trapped emotions still helps. When I present this to people, oftentimes practitioners will say, wait a minute, I've been releasing this from people for years, and are you saying this is hurting them? And I'm absolutely not. Okay, so it does still help. But the technique is to create a stronger and more permanent change.
And that's what's most important, is a permanent change, not to just for the second, but we want it to stay. And so many times, and I know people have deeper things going on in one layer and then another layer and then another layer, but at times I'm wondering, can we not have them go through this and make it for permanent for each soul?
Yep. And we certainly can.
See, and I've always thought that. I love psychology.
Yeah. All right. So this is how you're going to fill the gap. So once you've released emotions, to fill the gap, you're going to replace negative emotion releases with a positive emotion. Now, it should be the opposite of what the emotion was that was found. Okay. So, for example, if you find and release sadness, you'll want to replace it with joy. You want to get it to be as close to the opposite as possible, because the chemical reaction in the body that creates the emotion is very similar for opposites. Joy has a very similar chemical structure than sadness.
Right.
And so if you find and release insecurity, you can replace that with confidence. So it should be exactly the opposite.
So as soon as you release it, do you tap it in around the right ear, or you just do it with intention?
You can do it however you are releasing. So if you are one that swipes the meridian, you can do it the same way. If you do the tapping, you can do it the same way. If you use intention, you can do it the same way. However you're releasing, that's how I recommend replacing. And we'll kind of touch on that in a sec.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So this provides the client with that new positive emotion to fill the gap and a connection for the neural pathway. So let's say you have fear here and you release it and you add in courage. So every time the neural pathway fires, it's going to hit courage rather than fear. So it gives this immediate change. You'll have your clients mentioning to you the same day or the next day, like, I feel so empowered. I feel so strong. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, whatever you did is amazing, because it gives them this other emotion, this opposite emotion to feel instead of the other one. They're not just feeling nothing and needing to
Right.
replace it. They're feeling this positive emotion.
So let me ask a question with a heart wall. Even though there's
Mhm.
other imbalances besides emotions, would you, once you remove them, fill all those back in with positive emotions also?
I would feel a heart wall, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so to fill the gap, there are a few options. You can add in affirmations,
Okay.
and you can add this to the general energy of the client, and you can design them specifically for the emotions being released.
Okay.
So for an example, if you found and released sadness, you can add in, I fully and completely accept joy into my life. And the way I typically do that is I make the statement and continue muscle testing until it's a strong yes.
Okay. Okay.
And then, for example, if you found and released insecurity, you can add in, I welcome and accept confidence in all areas of my life. So there's a couple options here. You can replace it with a positive emotion, which I recommend. And then I also add the affirmations toward the end of the session so that it's even empowering the positive emotion.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so this is going to give further direction for your client to reinforce that new positive emotion.
Okay. What if they, just for saying, to some people, they're people, what if you have someone that no matter what you have removed, no matter what you feel with, no matter the positive energy and the positive affirmations, tapping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, tons of stuff, and they're still just, I'm in pain, I'm in pain, I'm in pain, and you
Yeah.
know that it's a pattern, and trying to get them to focus on the positive because all they ever say is negative things. And how do you work with people that just don't want to see the light?
Yeah. So normally, my opinion is that there's typically something else there.
Right.
Now, it may not be found in the emotion code or the body code, but it could be some other type of trauma energy.
Okay.
So my opinion is most of the time there's something else present. However, in my years of doing this, I have come across two people who were addicted to healing rather than, so they would constantly create a new problem, and they
Oh,
would buy, like they've bought in 40, 50, 60 sessions from me and just continually want to work with me because they just got addicted um
the feeling
to the
or
exchange of energy. They want to feel your energy. They want to be there. They need that social interaction. And so that's why they are continually ill, because they need to be to continue working with you.
oh,
Now,
wow.
that's happened twice in like the years that I've been doing it. But so it is possible that there's people like that. But I would
Okay.
say more often than not, there is some type of energy. It could be there's tons of things. And when we're done with this presentation, I can show you the Global Energy Method software
Okay.
and show you some of what's inside of that. And you'll see that there's a lot more that could potentially be, especially you had mentioned pain,
Mhm.
especially physical pain. Physical pain doesn't always mean a physical issue, but sometimes it does. So
Right.
it could be a ton of different physical things that are contributing to it. But it could be psychological, it could be a spiritual imbalance, something like that. So like we talked about just a minute ago, the way you're gonna add in these emotions and these affirmations are the same way that you release it. So if you swipe, you continue to swipe. If you use intention, you use that.
Okay.
And then whatever a prayer, if you're using prayer, you can use that. The key is to do it with each and every release. Now, this is an emotional release. So if you are, let's say you're balancing inflammation, you don't have to replace that because it's not an emotion. Like it's something that's just something that's affecting the body. So it's mostly due to you want to replace something that is an emotional type release.
Okay.
And then trying to feel that positive feeling can also strengthen the connection. So let's say you're replacing fear with courage. Try to feel the feeling of courage while you're replacing it. And
Oh,
it
okay.
gives that immediate feeling that your client will begin to feel that courage right there in that moment.
That's
And they
beautiful to
oftentimes
watch.
they'll say, "What time did you do my session?" Because I could feel it, you know?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I
All right.
infuse with my clients, I send them herbs and oils and they can taste them in their mouths.
That's good. Yeah. So the client will feel a positive emotion. This is what happens after you do this. They're going to feel
Okay.
that positive emotion and strengthened response with the affirmations pretty much immediately. You're going to find that your clients are contacting you sometimes the same day or the next day, talking about how powerful your session was. Um, and it's not going to take the full processing time to do that.
Okay.
So what we covered today was the gap, what happens when we release emotions from our clients, why a gap is left, what this means for our client, techniques for filling that gap, and what to expect after filling the gap. So I just want to see if you have any questions regarding that.
I think it's very phenomenal. I mean, we are taught through the ECMBC, but he never taught us to fill back in.
Right.
I learned that through another modality, but it's very amazing how we've grown from the emotion code and body code and all the beautiful modalities that are out there. I'm working with a class right now on chakras, and most people don't realize there's 7 layers to your chakras. They only balance one layer.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that there's more to it. Or with your meridians, they just, I think people are still, I think I'm kind of over somebody's head sometimes, are still locked in the white coat syndrome, where they don't think with their hands they have the ability to create wellness in their bodies, but we
Exactly.
do, and
We
we
do.
can do so much better because we can feel. The doctors can know what a certain problem is, but it's not the same for every person, and the
Right.
reaction and action of it is not going to be the same either. And I
Mhm.
find with a lot of people, their toxic sounds come from their doctors that tell them, you're not going to heal, this isn't going to happen, this isn't
Yeah.
good. And then I find, since they've linked on to what the doctor said, they now believe that, and there's no way you can get them out of
Right.
that, synopsis in their head. But when you begin peeling and showing them, it's like a little light comes on and they start to believe a little more and a little
Yeah.
more and a little more. So I think the more seeds that we plant out there, I think the better the world will be. And I think when we send out our positive vibrations, not just to send them out to the people with us, but send them across the world,
Yeah.
because we all need
Definitely.
light. The whole world needs light. We're in a mess.
Exactly.
But this
Yep.
is a beautiful way to, I don't do it to every single word. I always go, does a positive affirmation need to be stated? Does a positive word? And not always does it tell me yes,
Right.
but
Yeah.
just
And
get used to
sometimes
doing that.
it's not required. Sometimes it's not required depending on the client really and
Hmm.
the intensity of the release.
Hmm.
But yeah, but replacing those for the ones that do is so empowering,
Hmm.
and it helps them feel this immediate shift, and it helps build confidence in energy healing as a whole. And then it opens up for us deeper levels of healing. Like you're talking about the white coat syndrome. We need to help release those beliefs that
Yes,
those belief energies that
right.
are holding on to.
Because they're just not core beliefs, they're limiting beliefs, and they can
Yep,
go back within their ancestors even. And that's what's
exactly.
doing the past lives. There's a lot of things that are brought over in this life. If people believe in their past lives, that they actually, I mean, I didn't think it affected it that much, but it really does.
It does.
And
It
I'm
does.
like,
Yeah.
whoo, really, I had a very awesome session with a young lady that did our webinar last time, and she was past lives. And it was simply amazing. I have lung issues, and she took me back, and it went back to my dad. And he
Oh,
died
wow.
of this very severe death of lung cancer. And
Oh
when
my.
she let that loose, the other things occurred, but I don't have those same feelings that I did.
Right. Yeah.
And it's simply amazing that we need to really look out further. Um, like you talked about all the books and all the readings, we can have all the self-help books,
Mm-hmm.
buy this, buy this, buy this. Lord knows there's enough of them. And we can
Yes.
read every single one of them. But if
Mm-hmm.
we don't apply them, they never help.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
most people read them and don't apply them. Or they
Apply
apply
it.
them a couple times. Oh, it didn't work. Well, did you keep forward
Yeah.
your momentum or did you stop? Oh, well, I stopped.
Right.
That might be why you're not moving forward. It's
Yeah.
just, it's amazing to me. Like we have all these different books and the orthobiology, the medical physical stuff, the German medicine, there's just so much. Now, when you do all of yours, do you know how many different modalities you lock into yours, or you just choose what's the greater for y'all?
For the first release of the Global Energy Method software, there was at least about 12 different modalities, um, energy healing modalities.
Mhm.
And then as far as the psychology concepts, um, I'm not sure exactly because that's kind of turned into like my way of thinking, just from seeing research, because it's like there is a certain way of saying things
Mhm.
to our clients that triggers an automatic healing response. Our subconscious mind is one of the most powerful things
Yes,
for healing. God built us to heal.
yes,
Our bodies are designed to heal.
yes.
There is no limitation,
No.
you know so that it's just shifting the thinking into the fact that you were designed to be a healing machine. Like, our bodies are able to do this. A lot of people feel like it's so out of their control, they
Yes,
have to depend on medication or this or that,
yes,
and it shuts down that healing
yes.
process. But there's ways to word things, the ways to that's why, like with my reporting, I report specifically, I say specific words such as released this and
Right,
replaced it with this to
right,
trigger that, because what it does is it tells the subconscious mind the direction that you want to go.
right,
It's kind of like the placebo effect, right?
right.
So that's been proven medically
Yes,
all over the place. So
yes,
if they're taking a sugar pill and they think it's going to cure their cancer, it shrinks the tumor
yes,
because they believe it. They believe they're on the medication. It's the same thing. If we can get our clients to believe that this can help them, it will help them.
yes,
And the thing is, their own subconscious mind triggers this healing. And like, we're doing something, we're shifting this energy. But when their mind starts to see this, like I also teach to do an onboarding strategy, where
mhm,
the strategy for onboarding is I ask my client, okay, what is it that you want to focus on? And let's say they want to focus on less pain in their knee. They're saying my knee hurts and I want my knee not to hurt. Okay. So I have this pain.
mhm,
So I'll ask them, okay, so tell me, how does the pain in your knee limit your life? Like, how is that
mm,
negatively impacting you? And so they tell me all these things, like I can't play with my kids like I want to. I can't go on walks like I want to. I can't do this. And they kind of line out all the things that are it's negatively impacting. And then I tell them, what would your life look like if your knee was not an issue. And then they say, oh, I would do this and I would do this, and I would feel so good not to have pain. And
Amen.
just so now they themselves just identified where they
Everything.
are and where they need to be. And then I talked to them about, okay, you've stepped out, you've looked for healing, and you have taken the first step. We are going to do this together because I want them to know they're an active part of this. But then not only that, but they have just given their subconscious mind instruction. This is where I'm
Yes.
at. This is where I want to be. So even before they get their session with me, they're already started healing because they have designed a pathway to where they want to go before they even have gotten the session. I learned that because that was a psychology technique. I'm trying to think the name of it. It was
Oh boy, I can't remember.
motivational interviewing. It's
Well, I must have taken that 20 some years ago.
yeah.
Because I found my notes in an old notebook from school, and I'm thinking, okay, I obviously need to get this out.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It is, and we don't remember everything we are taught.
No.
Unfortunately, I wish we could.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
So where do you want your company to go to keep just moving forward, bringing more forward?
So my passion is to feed into other healers.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years ago, my business took off and I got to the point where I was doing 12 to 16 sessions a day and I just couldn't handle it. It was too much.
Yes.
It was draining me. And I'm like, I can't handle it. I was booked out for over 6 months. People were waiting 6 months to get a session. And I made the decision, I am going to teach other people what I do so that we can touch more people together. And so that's when I started shifting and building the global energy method, because I wanted to teach other healers to do that. Because like you mentioned in the beginning, there's so many hurting people. It's exponential. I mean, there's no way to touch them all.
No.
And one person it's not even a fraction. It's not even a drop in the bucket.
No,
so the future of my business is I want to grow energy healers to be successful practitioners that are able to touch as many lives as possible, because that multiplies for me, it multiplies my reach in the world.
Yes.
Without having to completely drain myself. As I said, we have 8 children. My husband's a licensed minister on staff. We have district duties where we're constantly busy. You know, we have our 4 grandkids. Like we're super busy. So my passion truly is to grow practitioners so that they can touch these people, because I believe wholeheartedly that these people can heal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Most
as
definitely.
long as our practitioners are confident in what they're doing, they will reach them.
Amen.
But too often practitioners, they get into this, maybe they just got body code certified and they're not confident. They don't know how to reach people. They don't know how to speak to them. They don't know how to convert a stranger to a client. They don't feel confident in their intuition or in their muscle testing or in the ability to actually change a life. And I have seen it thousands upon thousands of times. People's lives completely changed because of energy healing.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, I'm a little passionate about that.
I am very passionate about that also. I think every single soul should know how to do this in a matter of speaking. I mean, even if it's just to release the emotional part, the emotion code part is a big help.
It is.
It's and
huge.
To teach every single soul. It's so easy to learn. It's not difficult. The body code is not, none of this is difficult. We all have the ability right in our hands. It's just the knowledge and the intuition to do it. And everybody can do it. Everybody can help themselves and can help each and every soul they come in contact with.
Yep.
But so many people I'm finding still think what we do is a little wiggity, a little witchful. But I've mentioned to people, and excuse what I'm going to say, please, before I say it. Um, I can help you, heal you, or I can kill you. Which would you like? What way do you want to go? Do you want to feel better, or do you just want to keep in this same loop
Right.
that you never get out of, and you're getting deeper and deeper into this loop and you can't see any windows out? That's when you need some help. And then
Mhm.
some people, you show them the window and the way, and then they get mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt that many times too. How did you see that? And I didn't see that because I'm not in your circle. I'm on the outside
Yeah.
looking in. And I've asked people to actually step out and look in. And some are very shocked at what they see, and others cannot even do that. But when
Yeah.
you do pull yourself out and look in, you perceive things totally different than how you actually saw them to begin with. I do it with
Yeah.
myself quite often and get upset with myself quite often because I'm not doing what I should be doing, perceiving something else.
Yeah.
And I think we can all check ourselves on that aspect of it
Yeah. Exactly.
to do that.
Yeah.
Jeff or Dave, do you have any questions? I'm sure other people will have questions, but they will have to write in.
No, I'm good. It was interesting.
Good.
So,
Good. Dave, you cool?
I'm good.
Okay, beautiful. I was very interesting. I've not heard of this, what all you're talking about. So I'm glad you're making up your whole new thing for you to go forth with. I think that's absolutely beautiful. I think we all need to do that.
Yeah.
I absolutely do. Very
Well,
interesting.
it's great talking to you guys about it, and
I was so enjoyed. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely.
let us close, and then we can speak afterwards. And what we do for this is if everybody would just bow their heads, please. And in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We thank you, Divine, for being with us tonight. We thank the archangels and the celestial choir. We thank Lisa and Dave and Jeff to be with us. And we thank each person that will watch this afterwards. We ask that we are blessed with your knowledge to go forth and touch the souls that you guide us to touch, and that we help them as you help each every individual on the way. We know that with your guidance, Lord, we can do what you've put here for us to do, and that is to help others. I thank you for being present. I thank each one of your souls, and I ask the Lord to bless each one of you, your businesses, your life, your love, and I am very grateful for your peace. Thank you. Amen.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.